Hello, this is John Francois with Archangel Technologies. We're back again to finish up what we started on, what are pistols and handguns. We covered the revolver in last video, and so this time we're going to do is cover the semi-auto. But first, let's go over our 4 rules of gun safety. The firearm is always loaded. Never put your finger on the trigger until you're ready to shoot. Know your target and what's beyond it, and don't let the barrel point at anything you're not willing to destroy. Now that we have that done, let's move on to the semi-automatic. Before on the revolver, you had the front sight, the barrel, rear sight, cylinder, ejection rod, frame of the gun, then you have the trigger guard, very similar to the semi-automatic pistol. Here is your barrel. This is the front sight, rear sights. You have an opening to expel the spent shell casing. So that's the ejection port that's in the slide. Also, you have the trigger, the handle or grips, just like on the revolver, but unlike the revolver, this has an opening called the magazine well. Just think of it like a water well. That's where your magazine goes into that loads the cartridges into the gun. Once again, the parts. The barrel, front sight, this whole component on top that's pulled back is the slide. And it does that. It slides on rails that are on the frame. The frame contains the trigger guard, the trigger, and the handle or the grips with the magazine well. Let's look at it from the other side. You have your barrel, front sight, ejection port, rear sights, the slide, the frame, the trigger guard, and the trigger. If you have any questions about anything we discussed, always go ahead and feel free to put it in the comments. So we're going to do a quick refresher and cover both of them. On the revolver, you have the barrel, you have the front sight, the rear sight, the hammer spur, you have your cylinder, and in the cylinders you have the chambers that the cartridges are loaded into. Then you have the frame, you have the trigger guard and the trigger and the grips. And now the semi-auto. Very similar. You have your barrel, you have your front sight, but unlike the revolver, this has a slide. You have your rear sights, then you have the trigger guard, your trigger, grips, and in the bottom is your magazine well where your magazine is inserted. So once we move on, I'll see you in our next video. Have a good night.